Hello, I'm Darin Rowell, and today I want to talk to you about the difference between managing change versus managing a transition. And this is something I learned from Bill Bridges probably 25 years ago. And here's the gist of it. Bill taught us that change is a temporal transactional event. So you launch a new product or service line, you close an acquisition, you have a child that's born, you lose a loved one. It doesn't matter, but something major has changed. That's the change. The transition is a psychological reorientation that has to take place before we really regain our sense of stability and performance. Okay, so a change has occurred, but the transition is not complete until we have fully psychologically reoriented to this new way of being and we've regained our performance. Here's why I find that is so important, especially for senior leaders. So I often work with senior leaders that are implementing one or multiple changes, and they are so deep into the business case for the change that they often think about it very transactionally. Here are the things we need to get done. We need to communicate all the great reasons why we're having to do this, and let's start acting on it. While I agree with that, what that also overlooks, though, is it overlooks and underappreciates the psychological reorientation that has to take place. Now, if I asked any of those leaders, is there going to be resistance? Of course they would say yes. But they are so deep in the reason why that the change needs to happen, it's easy to underappreciate for any of us. It's not just the leaders themselves. Here's what I'd like you to do, is for any change that you're in the middle of or you're possibly getting ready to launch, I want you to differentiate between the change and the transition. So take just a moment, write down on a notepad, what's the change? The scope of the change, what's going to change, what's not going to change, what are the time elements of when those changes are going to take place, etc. So a really tight scope of the change. Then I want you to shift to the transition. And I want you to say, okay, who are the people that are going to be affected by this? For each of those groups, to the extent they're different, what's that psychological reorientation that's going to have to take place? And what's the different expectations we have for them in terms of behavior and way of interacting, whether that's with their peers and teams, etc. Once you start to do that, then start to and get an understanding of it, then ask yourself, what are the different types of resistance, of losses that might come up? You can certainly be mindful of the things that are going to be gained, but with every change, there will also be losses. So get a full appreciation of that. Then, as you start to put those two together, the scope of the change as well as the transition, I think you'll have a much better appreciation of really the things you need to do as an organization to manage that transition such that you can lessen the impact, negative impact to the organization, and you can accelerate the time until you regain the full performance of the organization. I hope you found this useful. If you did, we ask that you follow us on LinkedIn and you also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll find the link in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.